This is the Collecting Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Purse, here with your co-host, Bill Hamel.
I'm somewhat more comfortable collecting real estate than I am collecting other stuff.
This is Collecting Real Estate episode 13. We're here to discuss Bill Hamel's property number 15. My name is Stephen Purse, and I'm here with my co-host, Bill Hamel.
Thanks, Stephen. Yeah, we are collecting real estate at this point in the career. So we're certainly getting momentum, seriously becoming players in this market.
Now, I have 263 Western Ave as this address.
Yeah, that was a 3-unit Pine Hill student area of Albany.
And this is your first 3-unit purchase, correct?
Yeah, this was a 3-unit. We were excited about this one, at least I was initially. It was an interesting ride from beginning to end here.
What made it interesting?
It was a auction property at the county courthouse steps. So I had anticipated this purchase because the legal notice hits the local newspaper in Albany, and I researched it pretty well. I was familiar with the area, drove by the house, was actually able to sneak around back. The back doors were, open, and I was able to, make my way inside and sneak a peek of this property before the auction.
So you had your eyes on it for a while before the auction even happened.
Yeah, they're advertised about 30 days in advance. I believe that's the legal parameters, for a foreclosure in New York. So, I was ready for this auction.
What was the auction process like?
Auction process was what I was hoping because, I went and no one was there other than me.
And so you have no idea beforehand whether it's going to be a crowded doorstep that morning or if no one will be there, right?
Correct. You just never know. And I had done some research and made sure that I was looking at a property that was free of, liens, encumbrances, different things that you have to, be aware of when you're buying something like this at an auction.
Do you remember how long after your previous purchase this one was?
It was shortly after. We're really building some momentum at this point. So, we're talking 2001, 2002. And I was now aggressively searching for the next deal.
A lot of our last discussion was centered around partnerships. You've had 2 partnerships in real estate, one with your brother, Mike, one with your high school friend, Greg, and then that short-lived partnership with your other high school friend, Justin. How did this one work out? Was it a solo venture, joint venture? What'd you do?
This one I purchased at the auction. No one showed up. It was very exciting because it went for what I was hoping. In the legal notice, it had a judgment amount of, like $43,000. And that was a steal in the market based on what I saw when I was able to, peek at the property. And I was the winning bidder at $43,000. And what I attempted to do initially for about a week, because you have 30 days to close after you win at the auction. So I knew I had some margin on this property, and I was enjoying, making some money on properties where, we were collecting real estate, building a portfolio, but there's certainly attraction to, buying something for $43,000. And then I'm reaching out to peers in the market, investors that I was able to build relationships with. And at that point, I'm trying to, wholesale this thing for 60 grand, hoping that I could, make, $16,000 in a few weeks.
Is that what ended up happening?
No, I reached out to a couple people, and it was interesting. They, I received an offer from one where he's looking to get it for under 50, and that didn't work for me. Specifically knowing that, I could do the value add on this property, and it would work out great putting it in the portfolio.
Especially being in the neighborhood that you're mostly focused on. How much work did this one need?
It needed substantial work. It was student rental. I don't think that the previous owner used it as a student rental. He did a lot of bad work. And I think he had some just undesirable tenants that neglected the units. And ultimately, he was a landlord that was not successful and ended up losing this property.
Was this another one that you worked on yourself?
Yeah, I ended up getting a neighborhood guy to help me out. This is where I was really starting to see the beauty of getting a little bit of help, because this work was getting a bit burdensome to handle on my own during the day. There was a gentleman around the neighborhood that was willing to put in some labor. He was more of just a laborer, didn't have much skill, but the work that had to be done, I was able to utilize his I guess his brute strength. So we had to go top to bottom. I'm still in that mode of, okay, what do we have to do to get this rentable, so we have a decent product for the tenants that we were going to be shooting for. So it went from top to bottom, patching, same old thing, patching walls, getting them painted, hardwood floors throughout the entire building. And it was a little bit of a finesse job, so to speak, trying to fix a lot of the bad work instead of tearing out all of the bad work that was previously done. So that was a challenge.
How long did the entire process take?
It was probably a 60-day, maybe 75-day rehab. Could even have been up to 90 days. It was 3 units. You're looking at probably 1,000 square feet each unit, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, flats. So it was filled with stuff from the previous tenants. So you're able to, see the recent history of the tenancy. So, it's a full clean out and, getting right to work.
Was this another construction rehab loan?
This one was not. I think I bought this cash, and we financed the construction, similar to how we did it in the past, where we were, just running credit cards, maybe doing some cash advances, financing the rest of the rehab, knowing that 6 months or so down the road, we'd just be refinancing into a conventional product and cashing out. I think on this one, we were able to, cash out to the point where we paid off everything that we were into, and then we're able to put, probably 20,000-30,000 in our pocket.
Do you remember what it refinanced for approximately?
Oh, geez. I think it was easy. It was an easy one to get that result we wanted, probably, $120,000-$130,000 value on the appraisal. So, if we're interested in getting 70-80% loan to value, it paid for the purchase plus the rehab. And like I said, some extra cash in our pocket because, it still cash flowed. We were able to, forecast, $900 of rent per apartment. So the rent's more than covered all of those expenses.
So when you initially purchased this, you had the mindset of, let me see if I can wholesale it, get some quick cash, 10, 15 grand. That'd be great in a couple of weeks. Instead, you put in the time to put in work, a little sweat equity, and you ended up refinancing it, get even more cash in your pocket. And now you can tuck this away in your portfolio as a 3 unit in the neighborhood that you're already working in. Is that what happened?
It just goes to show you that, buying and going through the process is always more profitable, but at the same time, seeing the value of making a quick 15 grand in a few weeks, certainly has some benefit. But it's always, I guess a breath of fresh air going through the process and benefiting so much more on getting that property in the portfolio and really benefiting from holding and renting the property.
And once it was in the portfolio and you had improved tenants in there, everything ran smoothly, correct?
Yeah, well, no, no, absolutely not. This property ended up getting sold probably 2 years later, but this was a turning point for mine and Greg's partnership. He was working at the Clifton Park Water Authority during the day, so he had that W-2 job up till now, and I was now in a position where I was really getting some deal flow, getting some momentum in this business, and I think I was just growing tired of really driving that daily work, with these heavy lifts by myself. So at that point, I did have that discussion with Greg saying, hey, I think it's time, if we're going to continue moving forward on these properties and building this portfolio together, I think you'd need to strongly consider leaving that W-2 so I can get some added help.
Is that what happened? Now that you have 15 properties, over 30 units?
That's what happened. He made that big decision, which I appreciate. It's always, as we discuss this and the group that I'm involved in now, which is a lot of like-minded people within that Jake and Gino group, and it's one of those main focal points with so many. Probably 80% of the people, if not more, have W-2s, and the ultimate goal at some point is to be able to leave that W-2, do real estate full time, and ultimately, when you reach that point, you're able to have that time freedom from being a real estate entrepreneur.
Is there anything you can suggest to someone that is looking to leave that W-2? Is there a certain step that it takes, or a certain mindset, or anything, any advice you can give to someone that wants to make that leap?
Yeah, it's just getting the confidence, the courage to do it. I took too long personally. I had that W-2, up until I was about 30 years old, and I could have done it much sooner. But it's just that safety net, almost that insurance policy of still having that fear, which is our worst enemy in anything in life. And that W-2 is just holding you back. If that you're confident moving forward, with the success and the momentum that you're building in the business, it's just do it. It's just manning up, get rid of the W-2 and plow forward with what you're doing.
Do you think a big part of the concern is they want to get the freedom through real estate? So in order to do that, you have to build a real estate portfolio. But in order to build a portfolio, you need loans to purchase these homes, and the lenders want to see that W-2 income.
Yeah, that's the challenge. So a lot of this too is, gaining more and more knowledge, education in the business, and seeing, the huge benefit to that W-2 to qualify for residential loans. So as you educate yourself a little bit more and you're building your business, building your portfolio, you start seeing the benefit of, putting your properties in LLCs, and then considering getting into commercial style mortgages, even if you own, a lot of residential properties. I think this is when the mindset started thinking where, okay, let's start an LLC, for a variety of reasons. And, we were able to start considering grouping a lot of our residential properties, together in blanket mortgages, creating an LLC, and doing everything commercially. So at that point, the W-2 isn't so significant because when you're qualifying for, commercial style mortgages, the bank is more focusing on the properties, how the properties are performing, not so much on the individual.
So at that point, you go from being an employee to a business owner as you have your properties in LLCs.
Yeah, we might not have done it right at this point, but I think I'm starting to see that. I'm starting to see different things that are possible as we continue to learn. So it may not have been. I probably did. I didn't leave my W-2 yet at this point either. I just had the ability to work during the day because my W-2 was waiting tables at night. So I just worked a lot. So, I had the time freedom of working all day and working all night where, Greg had a different, he had that 7 to 4. And, even though he did work at night, it's, he would get there 5 o'clock, work till about 7. So, it just wasn't the same as far as, just getting the same production from what I was able to put into it in relation to, what he was based on, his W-2 schedule.
Yeah, very different when you have to be back at your desk in 12 hours.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to get a lot done in this business, unless you've got to set yourself up during the day to be able to work a 7 or 8 hour shift, because it takes a little bit to get going. It takes a little bit to wind down. So if you're going there for 2 or 3 hours, you're not getting, a lot of production done. You have 2 or 3 hours to work, and you're taking 20 minutes to get going. You're wrapping up for 10 or 15 minutes at the end, and so you do the math, and you're really only getting an hour and a half of production, which isn't super productive.
Absolutely. Is there anything that this property stuck with you and you really learned from?
Yeah, it's don't do horrible work. That's what we learned from, the previous guy. It was hideous, some of the work that he was doing. Sheetrock, hanging sheetrock, where there was just no quality control at all. And don't get me wrong, we were still learning, the quality part of the business ourselves, but boy, were we fixing a lot of bad work. And that really set in on how important it is to be as artful as possible with that work. And I think realizing making that big jump, that's all I'm really focused on right now, is just me and Greg now just jumping in almost full time and saying, okay, this is it. This is what we're doing. We're now real estate professionals. We're real estate investors. This is what we're going to do going forward. So it's, that's now first. And those W-2s are close to, being history. Also on this property, this was right in the middle of the prime student area. So, that was our target market. We were really going to dive into that student demographic. And, boy, did we, we learned a lot there.
I think the W-2 transition can be the focal point of the episode, because that's so important for any entrepreneur, whether it's real estate or any other field, having the confidence to take that leap and understanding when is the right time to do it. Yeah,
absolutely. And there was also some, some interesting dynamics to that rehab, just interesting stories. This was, I think it was probably, maybe the 3rd or 4th hardwood floor project I had done. And, so that this, and also, a paint job on a high level, where, I'm now trying to get major production out of both trades, and, doing it, with still the same labor resources that we had been doing. So at that point, it's, patching all the walls throughout a 3,500 square foot building all at once, and then going back and painting all at once. So at that point, we, either purchased or rented a paint sprayer. So now we're looking to really get the paint job done in a short period of time. And then when we were doing the hardwood floor refinishing, there was a lot of hardwood floors to sand down, including the common areas. And I was just starting to kind of build my skills in that category. But man, that's guerrilla work. So at that point, that wasn't a concern for me. I was up for the challenge, but it was, I'm moving fast at this point. In the fun part of this one, well, kind of dangerous fun, whatever, when you're sanding hardwood floors, you're emptying your bags of sawdust, fairly regularly when you're really doing a lot of work in a short period of time. So I have a garbage can out front of the building, and when I fill up a bag of sand, I'm loading it into the garbage can, not realizing that how hot this sand is. Mm-hmm. So as I'm loading and loading and loading over a several hour period of time, next thing you know, we have a neighbor running in the house at, like, I'm working late at night at this point, 6-7 o'clock at night, because I have a garbage can that is literally on fire in front of the house. So it's, putting the fire out and realizing, wow, I guess I can't do that. I have to let my sawdust debris cool down a bit before I continue to load it into a garbage can with construction debris into it. So that was an interesting learning experience.
Now that's a great piece of information from someone to learn from. Learn from your mistake.
I never did that again. So at that point, you're controlling that material a little bit better, as you continue to do this style work.
But while all this work is going on, no one's looking for the next deal. No one is making cold calls, running mail campaigns, and looking for that next deal to grow the business.
No, towards the tail end of this one, it was either at the tail end of I think it was right at the tail end of the rehab when we were probably 80-90% done. We're really starting to see, who we're going to be renting to. And the next deal did hit the MLS. And fortunately, at this period of time, that deal was sitting on the MLS. It was a multi-family that we hadn't gotten into yet, but it looked very interesting to me, but I didn't dive right into it. But fortunately, it hung around long enough to where, that did end up being our next purchase. But, this one got very interesting on the rental side, where we were able to have some success getting student tenants in there. But, we did sell this probably a year and a half later, due to, that style tenant, did not work for me and Greg.
That was the student?
Yeah, that was a third floor student. It was, I'll never forget this. I've had, in 27 years, I've probably had 3 situations where, I don't know if anybody else deals with this or if it was just me and the way I was early in my life, being so reactive and not being able to control my emotions, which is a whole nother story for another day on just personal development, and be able to really control yourself in certain situations. So we have a tenant who, they're in a fraternity, they're living on the 3rd floor, they're late on rent. You're showing up to, collect rent, see what's going on. And, they could care less. They were there to party. So you're walking into kegs, you're walking into holes in walls, to the point where, the rubber met the road when, I'm aggressively knocking on a door, looking for rent, seeing an absolute disaster of an apartment. And I got this guy. At this point, I'm 28, 29, confident in my, how I'm able to control myself anyway, or handle myself, not emotionally, but, so I have this student who is basically saying, what's your problem? Yeah, I owe you rent and we're partying, but what are you going to do about it, type thing. So that went horribly wrong. So now it's landlord and a tenant in a very, very confrontational situation. I won't elaborate any further on that, but at that point I was, very anxious to put that property on the market, make some good money, and move on to, some more stable properties.
So how would you have handled that situation differently looking back at it?
Oh, geez. I learned as I got into my late 20s, early 30s, where now I'm starting to get into, reflecting on me, getting into some personal development type stuff, and then realizing how important it is to, control your emotions, not being so reactive, being professional, not feeding into bad situations or confrontational situations. The intent at that point, 20 years ago to today is basically, how can I defuse this situation, bring it from confrontational down to a stable situation where it's professional. I learned, and I really describe this to so many young landlords coming up now, to where it is staying as professional as you possibly can, in any business situation, any life situation, because nobody benefits when you're feeding into confrontational emotions.
Absolutely. It's a business. It's not personal.
And it's not healthy. It's not good for you. It's not, it's not a habit that's good. It's embarrassing. It's just not, the way that anybody should conduct themselves. And no, it's stay professional, and be as even keeled as possible. And boy, are you going to be better off.
I completely agree. I think it's a good place to leave it. I'm looking forward to hearing about the next property.
Awesome.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Steve.